So let's take a look at texture and what we can do with it on these slabs. So this is the slab that was from the cylinder video. Alright, so this is my extra. So if we want to make 2 of those cylinders, go right ahead. But now we'll take a look at some things that I showed off in an earlier video of items for impressions. Right, so this fork, you can even use the prongs of this fork to create a design. So pressing down here and then rolling up to the end, you get some nice variation. And if you decided to use something like this on your roll, it works out pretty well to have a nice top and bottom. Right? So if you don't want this natural edge here, you can cut that straight and use those. Right? So another thing that interested me when I was looking for things to impress was a slotted spoon. So it's curved. I'm rocking it back and forth and left and right to make sure I get a good impression. Right? And I really am enjoying this design here. I think that'd be a nice facing on a cup or something like that. And just to mirror everything, right? It's nice to have a mirrored design, so rocking back and forth, left and right. That worked out pretty good. And handles on silverware can have some interesting things going on. This is pretty detailed thing, right? It's like a little filigree kind of pattern. So you may have to press down with a fair amount of pressure. And just slowly kind of work that up. Right? So you get a little bit of an impression right there. Clay likes to stick to things, right? So if you have cornstarch, right, magic cornstarch, you can give that a little bit of a pat and you'll be able to remove your piece a little easier. Right? Might be tough to see through the cornstarch, but fine design, or the finer the design, it may be a little touchy. This is some kiln furniture that I have over in the corner. So this holds up the shelves of full work in my kiln, and I really enjoyed this pattern here, and thought it would look nice, and which I do kind of like, right? So thinking of how to fit this together and create a pattern so that it's not just top and bottom. That's kind of the trick with these guys, isn't it? So it may take a little bit of time to figure that out, right? And then I also have this piece of kiln furniture here that I really enjoyed as well. So a nice bold border. Pressing that down, I rather like that as well. Right. So this gives you a good sense of pressing things in, how the clay takes on, design, other impressions. There's some things that I enjoy in my own work. This is a hot trivet, or like a silicone pad for grabbing a hot pot on the stove or placing it down on the kitchen table. This is a shelf liner that was marketed as a can opener, right? But I've gotten a lot of great designs and patterns with this. So with this honeycomb design, pressing this in with my heel, and this comes across as really light. You can see where I pressed more than the others, but as you roll this up, the clay will stretch and it will bring out the pattern. So it can be as precise with something like this or not at all. So the fun thing about this is that if I turn it or place it back down where the honeycomb pattern does not match up, I begin to get new designs, right? So it becomes this floral pattern right in here, which I think is really interesting. I've used it on some of my work here. This is an example of a picture, so you can see where that matches up, right? That line there, and using those lines as an element of design, so it measures out the center really nicely, and then stretching out this here for a nice pour spout. And another characteristic of this slab that I really enjoy is this little hole for hanging on a nail or hook, and it turns into a nice little accent of a circle on the work. Right? So if you have something like these pads here, think about how you might use that as a textured surface. Right? Right. So up next is the press plate. It was a lot of fun.